Welcome to the Straight Talk on Fleet podcast with Erin Gilchrist. Each week, Erin will be breaking down fleet management, trying to cut through the noise and get down to the real issues safety and operations leaders are struggling with every day. The goal will be to get to the bottom of how leaders can break down these silos of information, accelerate change management, how to use real-time, accurate data to drive massive efficiencies across fleet-focused business processes, and to elevate people's careers with emerging best practices. Now it's time for the Straight Talk on Fleet.
Hello again, the Fleet community. So good to see everyone. We're back for yet another episode. This is episode 23, which is amazing, of the Straight Talk on Fleet podcast. I am Erin Gilchrist for those of you who don't know me, and I serve as the VP of Fleet Evangelism at IntelliShift. So that's a groovy title. It just means that I get to talk about all things fleet all the time. So on my podcast, I try to be your objective and reliable source of information of our amazing fleet ecosystem, because I have lots of experience. I ran a very, very large fleet for over 15 years. So I get to do this with you all the time. So fun. But we're going to switch it up today. We're always talking about safety and we're talking about sustainability and driver safety, all the fun things. But today we're going to switch it up. I'm so excited. I've always said, and I've said this on my podcast, that working for an organization that not only gives back, but encourages their associates and supports their associates to do the same is a deal breaker for me. So I never would have come to work for IntelliShift had I not been able to do that. So thank you, IntelliShift, for allowing me to serve on the board at Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Ohio, which is an amazing, amazing venture. And that way that me and the IntelliShift family can jointly give back to our communities, which is what we're really passionate about. IntelliShift, and you guys know me, if you know me at all, know that I'm really passionate about that too. So today I get to introduce Ryan Wilkins. Ryan is the CMO at Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Ohio and the founder and manager of the House's National Vehicle Donation Program. And besides that, Ryan is a longtime colleague and friend of mine who inspires me to be a better person every day. So thank you for that, Ryan, and thanks for joining us.
Well, that was very sweet of you and a really nice way to introduce me. Thank you very much. And I have to say, I think you have the coolest title of anyone that I've ever heard before. Did you come up with that, or did somebody else come up with that?
I didn't. I have to give that credit to Ryan Driscoll, who is my leader at IntelliShift. And it's interesting, but it really does. And the more I do my job, the more I find how fitting it is that I just get to talk about all the things near and dear to fleet leaders, well, really in operations and safety leaders too, every day. So it's super fun. And I get to help out at IntelliShift in all the ways that I think fleet managers want to with suppliers they work with, right? We want to just be in-house with our suppliers saying, no, this is the way that I need it. This is the way that I want to see it. So I get to be that in-house fleet manager at IntelliShift and just be a fleet manager without a fleet. So it's kind of cool.
Amazing. Well, you have earned that title for sure, and it's perfect for you. You really are the expert in the field. And I've met lots and lots of people in fleet, and it's such a wonderful community. But you are like the Pied Piper of the fleet community. Everybody loves Erin.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. That's kind of you to say as well. So again, I'm super pumped to talk about what the house does and about the vehicle donation program. But first off, I introduced Ryan, but he'll do a better job than I did. So Ryan, just spend a little time talking about a little bit about you and the mission of Ronald McDonald House Charities and the vehicle donation program and your role. So just take it away.
Well, people often tell me that they think I have the greatest job on earth, and I can't disagree. I get to tell the story of the Ronald McDonald House here in Columbus, Ohio, every day. I'm the chief marketing officer here. I've been here for almost exactly 15 years. In fact, it'll be 15 years here in a couple of days.
Congratulations.
So obviously, thanks. So obviously, it's a place that I care about very much. I love what we do here. I love the impact that we're able to make. And for those of you who don't know what a Ronald McDonald House is, it's a place for families to stay when their kids are in the hospital. So ours, I'm right now talking to you from the Ronald McDonald House in Columbus, Ohio. My office is here. And I can look across the street out of my window and see Nationwide Children's Hospital. Most of the families who are staying here with us have a kiddo who's being treated across the street. So when they wake up in the morning, they can take a shower, come downstairs, grab a bite to eat that's been provided to them by a generous group in the community. Then they can just walk across the street to be with their kids. So they don't have to worry about all of the stress of how they're going to get to the hospital that day, how they're going to pay for everything, including food and lodging. They can just focus on the health and well-being of their kids, which we have found out through studies that have been done by Harvard and lots of other great institutions that having family nearby really does positively impact the health outcomes for those kids. It is vital to the success of the care that they're receiving for mom and dad to be there with them by their side. So what we do is we're the experts in facilitating the family-centered care. That's what we do. So mom and dad can stay with us across the street, and sometimes even the patients do. When I first started 15 years ago, patients never stayed with us, but healthcare has changed a lot in the last decade and a half, to the point now where they're really trying to emphasize outpatient care. So as much as possible, they want the kids to actually stay here. So they'll stay with us here at the Ronald McDonald House, and then they'll walk across the street to get the care that they need, and then they'll come back here and stay in a home-like environment. So much so that we've had to do a huge expansion that we're working on right now. Thankfully,
exciting.
It's very exciting. We're basically doubling the size of the Ronald McDonald House here in Columbus, so that when we're finished, we're going to have over 200 guest rooms where families can stay with us right across the street from their kids. And it's such a special thing to be a part of. So you mentioned the vehicle donation program. That is something that my boss actually came to me back in 2010, sat down in my office, and she closed the door and she said, "Hey, so I have this idea. I really think that we should start what she called an auto auction at the time." And I said, "Great, that's an awesome idea." And if you knew me, you'd know that I'm a very positive, can-do kind of person. So I'm never going to say no to a challenge. So she says, "I think we should start an auto auction, and I really think you're the guy to do it." And I said, "Fantastic, let's do it." And then she walked out the door. I shut the door, and I immediately Googled, what is an auto auction? Because I literally had no idea. Okay, I can figure out what it might be, but why would a charity do this? Well, so through a lot of research and a lot of conversations with experts in the field, we decided that it did make sense for us as Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Ohio to start a vehicle donation program, so that individuals, corporations could donate cars to our charity, and then we take those and sell them at auction, and the proceeds then benefit us here at the Ronald McDonald House. We started that here in Columbus in 2010, and as more and more Ronald McDonald Houses around our region started to learn about it, they kind of thought, well, gosh, we'd like to do that too. So we set up a system where people could call the same phone number, go to the same website, and then the vehicle would automatically be credited to that local Ronald McDonald House. And that really started here in the area of Ohio, a little bit in Michigan, a little bit in West Virginia. And then over the years, it just expanded to the point where several years ago, RMHC Global, our parent organization, adopted this as the official vehicle donation program for Ronald McDonald House Charities, which basically just means that any vehicle that is donated anywhere in the country will go directly to the local Ronald McDonald House to benefit that local charity. Such a wonderful program. I'm super proud of what we've been able to accomplish. And just here in Columbus last year alone, we generated $500,000 from the sale of vehicles that were donated to us. And that's a tremendous amount of resources that frankly we need. We can't operate this place without it. So the fleet industry has been a really important part of that growth, really thanks to you, Erin. You're the one that has, first of all, again, I didn't know anything about fleet. It wasn't on my radar. And you were like, "Hey, we need to start talking to the fleet industry." And I was like, "Great. So I started going to NAFA events with you, and I've spoken to lots of different NAFA meetings, and we've on the back end received a lot of great donations of fleet vehicles from companies over the years. And we get a lot of great resources from that. The average gross revenue that we get from a fleet vehicle is about $4,000, whereas from a standard vehicle that we would get from someone in the public, we'll get roughly about 700. So there's a big delta there between the value that we get. So all of that to be said, the Ronald McDonald House is a special organization. We have over 380 Ronald McDonald Houses in 65 different countries. It is a tremendous organization that is impacting millions of people's lives. And I'm really super proud and excited to be a part of this organization. And we appreciate your support.
Well, I love it too. And I've been around the house for quite some time now. I don't even know how long, but again, it feels so long in such a great way. So, kind of to dovetail a little, I've been involved with the house on some level for many years, but when you started the VDP and I got involved from a fleet perspective, it really allowed me to talk to the fleet community about the different kinds of impact we can have. And I think that NAFA and AFLA and all the organizations in fleet are so amazing. Our community of fleet managers and operations and safety leaders, we love to give back. And we do that really well, but it was fun to introduce something that really made sense for us because, we do cars, we do equipment, we do vehicles. And what's so great about this program is that it's not just cars. We can donate a lot of different things.
Yeah, we had an airplane donated to us one time. Come on.
There you go. Yellow iron, right?
Yes.
We can take a lot of things. Boats. Bring it on. Bring it on, fleet managers. So we can take what you've got. But I just think it's been really fun to see this unfold a little bit. But I think we have so much further to go, right? So I thought it would be great to have you come on and just help the community out there realize a little bit more in detail about the impact that the house has, but especially the impact that fleet donations can have. So 4,000 on average versus 700 is huge. So as a fleet community, we can have a very significant impact in all of our communities where we live and work with a program like this. So I think, I love that the emphasis on the fact that no matter where you donate, the proceeds from the equipment or vehicle that you donate goes to the RMHC in your area. So I'm talking to you, audience, like this is your opportunity. So no matter where your business is headquartered, you can devote your vehicle donations or your equipment donations to whatever house that's local to where the donation happens. And so, Ryan also mentioned that he's come to NAFA. So coming up here, we'll be in Baltimore this year at NAFA. Ryan will be there. He will have a booth there with Ronald McDonald House. I'll be spending some time with him as well as in my own booth. And you can find him there. And I will provide Ryan's contact down below in our comments on all of our channels so that, if you have specific questions about what it would mean for you or how the program works, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But Ryan is always there to answer questions, as am I. So you can reach out to me directly too to learn a little bit more about how the program works. But on that note, Ryan, I want you to define just the impact that fleets have had. I want to hear from you a little bit about ultimately how easy it is for fleets to give. Just talk a little bit about the impact that we can have.
Well, I think the potential impact is virtually limitless. The scale of vehicles that are coming off fleet that could be potentially donated to local Ronald McDonald House is staggering. In my opinion, I think that it's a great way for a corporation to take an asset that it already has and use it to make an impact. I think we're all looking for ways to be able to make a difference in the work that we're doing. And a lot of people probably don't think of the physical asset of a car or a truck or a van or whatever it is as a potential support for a family whose kid is in the hospital. But it really is. And I can give you all kinds of different stories, but a couple that come to mind for me that are pretty special. We have some friends at Johnson & Johnson who made a couple of really generous donations to us of vehicles. And those were cars that were used by executives, and they were at the end of their useful life for Johnson & Johnson, but they realized that it was still a valuable vehicle. They donated those to us here at the Ronald McDonald House, and we were able to get around $20,000 of gross revenue for each of those to us here at the Ronald McDonald House, which is a huge donation. That's an amazing donation. A couple other things that come to mind when I think of corporations who have made donations. We've got a really great relationship with Columbia Gas of Ohio. They've got all kinds of utility vehicles, as you could imagine, that they need to have out in the market. And when those are finished, I know from talking to them that they really feel like there's not a lot of value left in them. However, when they donated to us a couple of different cargo vans, they had a pickup truck that they gave us, a little SUV that was used for some service work. We've gotten $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 from those vehicles that they really thought were junk. So there's useful life in those vehicles that those of you who are managing fleets have, that can be turned into something that makes a direct impact on a child who is in the hospital. And if you're a parent, you understand if you have a kid that's in the hospital, you're going to do everything that you can to help them, to be by their side, to support them. And if you had a hard time getting to the hospital as a parent, wouldn't you want a place like the Ronald McDonald House where you could stay and be able to stay close to your kid? That's what we're able to provide. And that's what you're able to help provide by making those kinds of donations. And like Erin said, it's super simple. It's literally a phone call. I've got a flyer sitting here. It's literally just calling that number. That's it. That's all you got to do. 855 Cars Help. We have experts who really understand the fleet industry. They work with folks like yourselves day in and day out, and they will come pick up the asset and then take it to auction, and it costs you nothing. So if you have vehicles that are sitting in a lot somewhere and you're just sort of dreading, like, oh, I got to transport those somewhere, let us take that, because we will take on the cost of the transportation, and then it'll become a revenue source for our charity. And then another nice thing on the back end of that is that it's a tax deduction for your corporation. So I think everyone handles their finances differently, and every organization is set up differently. And I can't give you tax advice. However, I know that it's a really nice way to be able to get a tax exemption for an individual and for a company. But the key word, I think, is ease.
Yes.
Really one phone call and we'll come pick it up.
Well, in fleet managers, Ryan, we've talked about this a bunch, and I talk about this on my podcast all the time. I mean, we talk about on our podcast, like, fleet management's harder than it needs to be, but there's reasons for that. We always have a lot going on. And I think about remarketing as a whole, another stream of activities that we're responsible for in our organizations. And, if it's a few cars a year that we don't have to deal with, and we can call, 855 Cars Help, done. I like to think about, I don't know who's listening today, but let's just, for fun, let's say we have 40 listeners who are involved today. And let's say each of us commits to donating one car this year. So 40 cars at $4,000, right? On average, and some will be more and some will be less, but, and I'll venture to guess that all of us collectively could do better than that. But if we did one vehicle this year, that'd be $160,000, right? So that is 1,600 nights. So if you think about one night and what that means for a family, take all that love and that support and that comfort that they got from that one night and multiply it, right? 1,600 times. We could do that if each of us listening out there, and please pass this information along, donated one vehicle this year. And again, super easy. You make the one call and work that you and your team have to do is done. And you get a receipt on the back end that you can hand over to your controller at work and say, here, look, we made a donation. Super easy. They can account for that. We don't even have to do that as fleet managers. So just super easy. And when I think about, Ryan gave some examples, Columbia Gas and some other folks who have donated. We've had vehicles that have been donated from fleets that we've got residual values of up to $20,000 for assets, so, it doesn't matter what it is. We will take it. We want to take it.
We got a pickup truck from Adrian Steele that was worth more than that. I mean, so there are so many great partners in the fleet industry that we appreciate so much. And to me, the really, really cool thing about it is that when you make that donation, like you said, it's providing nights at the Ronald McDonald House. And if you just imagine, if you've never been in a Ronald McDonald House, it looks a lot like a hotel, except there are lots of other great aspects to it that make it much more community oriented. But it's like a hotel room that they're staying in. They've got
it's so much warmer. It's a lot
way warmer. But functionally, it's kind of like that. But so that's fine. But I don't want you to feel like it's a sterile thing, like you're giving a hotel room. What you're giving is a night for a mom to be right across the street from their kids, so that child doesn't have to be alone when they're in the hospital. Now, that gives me chills to think about the direct impact that you are making on someone's life that is going through probably the most difficult challenge that they've ever gone through.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I know I've had kids in the hospital. It's
Same.
terrible. The worst. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse. But the only thing you can do is be there, right? There's nothing else you can do. All you can do is be there to support them spiritually, emotionally, to advocate for them. And that is what you can do by donating what feels like a vehicle that's not useful to your company anymore. Think about that. You can give a mom and a dad a chance to be bedside with a kid who's in the hospital just by donating a vehicle that you're just trying to get rid of. And it makes a huge impact directly on those families. And it's happening thousands and thousands of times every day, over and over again here in the United States, where you can make those donations. And we need as much support as we can get. So like Erin said, just that one vehicle may not feel like it's making a huge impact, but if you multiply that by exponentially all of the different folks who can come together to do that, it is making a critical impact on literally thousands and thousands of families every day. But we need more support. We need more support. Ronald McDonald houses across the country right now are growing in leaps and bounds because of what I was saying before about how family-centered care has really become the norm for treating childhood illness. The family needs to be nearby. And not only that, but a lot of the children's healthcare in the United States is being sort of magnetized into the large metro areas where people are coming from outside of that town to get the care that they need. Well, when that happens, they got to have a place to stay. Mom and dad do. Mm-hmm. So that's what the Ronald McDonald House is facilitating. So because of that, organizations like ours here in Columbus have gone from just a few years ago, we had 44 guest rooms. And now at the end of this year, we're going to have 205. I mean, that's a huge difference. And it's just going to keep growing. And that just happened in Cincinnati. It's happening. It happened out in California. These Ronald McDonald houses are growing into really large hotels where families can stay. So we've got to get more and more support. And if you are feeling a nudge in your heart as you're watching this, please consider making a donation. And by the way, it doesn't have to be your company that makes that donation. I hope Tim Pate doesn't mind me saying his name out loud, but he's going to be embarrassed if I tell this story. But he had this vehicle that he just didn't know what he was going to do with that he owned personally. And he came up to me after a NAFA meeting one day. He's like, Ryan, I don't know. I'd like to give you this, but I just don't think it's worth anything. And I said, are you kidding me? I mean, we'll take anything. It doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to move. It can just be literally sitting out in your farm field for 50 years, and there's value in it to us. And he's like, really? Wow, that would be really special. And I said, yes, it would. And he made that donation, and I got to see him then the next year at that same meeting, and he came up to me and gave me a big hug and just felt so warm about the impact that he was able to make by making that very simple donation of a vehicle that he literally came up to me and said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. And that's the solution that we can be to you personally or to your company. And I love that. I love that we make your life easier, and then that makes the lives easier of the families who are staying here at the Ronald McDonald House.
Yes, I know Tim, and I know he won't care that we called him out because it's great. It just encourages you. Like, if you have something you need to, I mean, I've done that. I donated, it was my oldest son's car. We bought used, and he handed it down to a couple more of my children, and then we ended up donating it, which is great. So, and then there's this idea of, if you can't donate a car, or you're still working on your company's mission and you're introducing this concept, volunteer too. We need volunteers at houses around the US and around the world. So wherever you are listening from, there's probably a house near you. Volunteering at the house is a lot of fun and really rewarding. And so all the things that we talked about, the impacts we can make with vehicle donations, we can also make personally by going to the house and cooking a meal with our family, or we can clean or bring supplies. There's always a wish list for the house out there. They need paper towels, or they need Ziploc bags. I mean, there's always a wish list. So if you Google Ronald McDonald House Charities wish list, it'll come up for you and wherever you are, and you can donate those needed items to the houses around the US. So lots of fun ways to give, but Fleet community, we can make a huge impact as we define today. So Ryan, thank you so much just for being here to talk about this super critical mission for families with children. Yeah, my pleasure. I could do this every day with you, and plan to continue to stay involved with VDP. That's our acronym for the Vehicle Donation Program. And just to stay close to the house. I know that my family has benefited from the house. So blessed to have that in my own life. And then recently, a family member of ours had a daughter who was very severely injured and in the hospital for several months. And she and her family were at the house in Columbus. So just, I think that all of us at some time in our life, or at least we know someone who's been affected by having a sick child in the hospital. So we can definitely make an impact. And it was fun chatting with you, Ryan, today. It's always fun chatting with you.
Well, it's fun talking to you too. And Erin, I just want to thank you publicly for all of the amazing work that you have done for us over the years. You're on our board. You give so much time and energy to our leadership, and what you have been able to do for us with the vehicle donation program and helping us to really get that credibility within the fleet industry. I literally, it's invaluable. There's no way that we would be as successful today if it wasn't for you and your leadership. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you've done for this program, for the Ronald McDonald House. And you are such a blessing to our organization. And I'm so thankful for you and your partnership.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It's truly a gift to me to be involved. So Fleet community, this is our opportunity to shine. We always shine, but let's shine some more. Consider that next time that you go to remarket an asset in your fleet, no matter what it is, think about Ronald McDonald House Charities, and think about the time and effort that you spend on this activity of remarketing, right? And just call 1-855-CARS-HELP, and we'll provide this information to you again, and we'll come and get that vehicle or that piece of equipment, get it off your plate, and you'll help this amazing mission and this organization and our vehicle donation program. So thank you, Ryan, and thank you everyone for listening. So if you found today's content interesting, which I'm sure you did, I encourage you to subscribe to my podcast. Come on and be my guest. We can talk about lots more fun things. Join the conversation wherever you find your content. But as we like to say on the Straight Talk on Fleet, until next time, keep it real, keep it safe for fleet's sake. So thanks everyone for listening, and thank you, Ryan.